somebody called to for the purpose of converting me because, of course, like I said, they knew me when. And because of that, they knew that what I was talking about now didn't completely follow what they believe about religion, as it were.
Well, just ask them a question. Are you the same person today that you were 10 years ago?
It's a good question.
There it is. See, if they've grown, well, you have too. And
Yeah.
why wouldn't they judge that? That 10 years ago, you're different today than you were then. So, see, thou shalt not judge. If they're judging you, they're also judging themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't realize that, but they really are. Because it's a judgment that you're putting out there. And every word of that judgment must be accounted for. Look, you're not being denied anything. You're actually denying yourself, and you can stop that. So do so and see so for yourself so. Isn't that so?
That's so. That's absolutely so. I think that a lot of times, and we don't, you had said something during the talk, and it was basically about challenging where your beliefs came from. And I did that a couple of years ago, and I really realized that most of what I believe had been taught to me by others, but I didn't know it firsthand. I didn't know it because of my experience. I was continuously, as it were, talking about someone else's experience. And I said that has to change. And as I began to become open to change, then transformation took place. But it wasn't until I became open to change.
Well, what you're hearing from them is their opinions.
Yeah.
That's all they are. That's all they can be taken as. It's just their opinions. Until you check it out for yourself.
Absolutely.
And if you're not going to check it out for yourself, then don't bother yourself with it. Because, you collect so much stuff. I mean, the mind is a recorder. It records everything going on. So all you're doing is cramming your mind full of a lot of things you don't really need to know to do what it is you want to do. And that's coming single-mindedness, that you're only thinking on what it is you want to accomplish, not what you don't want to accomplish or you don't want to experience. And that's usually what people are thinking on, isn't it?
It is. It is. They focus on the negative as opposed to what it is that they want to manifest in their life.
And they're manifesting negative.
Yeah.
Well, you see, you're only using one power. That's the one you were given, the power, not a little power, the power. So you're using it, and how are you using it? That's all you have to ask yourself. And if you can't answer it, there's always the silence, because everything that you're doing will come out in your thinking and feeling, and then you can judge where to go and where not to go. Change your mind, change your world. It's that simple, isn't it?
It is. Somebody had asked the question about going into the silence, and they said, well, is that the same as a state akin to sleep? I said, no, the state akin to sleep is before you go into bed. I said, when you're going into the silence, you're purposefully going into a state of meditation to receive something from spirit. So not so much to go to sleep and to think upon what it is you want to manifest, but you're going into the silence purposefully.
That's it. And that's what you do. You do it purposely. And that's what we're trying to get you to do it. Do it purposely. Because then, if you have a purpose, you see, the thing is that if you're really excited about doing something, do a thing and you shall have the power. And if you have the power, that's the joy of it all, isn't it?
It is, and realizing that you have the power.
That's it. That's the whole thing. That's what you want to do. You want to realize that you're operating the power, not manpower, but God power. That's what you're given to operate with. But God's ways are not man's ways. So you're told to be in the world, but not of the world. Because of the world's ideas, well, look, there are wars and rumors of wars and always going on. That's not what you're to be thinking on. If a man would order his conversations aright, he would be shown salvation. That's it, isn't it?
It is. You know, you said something a moment ago. You said that God's ways are not man's ways. And even in so-called religion, God doesn't operate like many of us think that he does operate, you know. And so, but most of us have been indoctrinated. We've been taught to pray this way, to, you know, ask God this way. And we've missed the mark because we don't realize that we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Omnipresent. With you always, will never leave you, will never deny you. See, so they're all denial is self-denial. So what are you looking for? That's all you have to ask yourself. What am I looking for? What do I want? What is my passion? That's what it really is. You have to have a passion. And you know, actually, people want things done right away. But you know, actually, that's possible too.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, because there are those in Scripture who didn't die; they just walked away. And that's what you can do. That's what you eventually will do. And that was their time to eventually do it, and they did it. And you will too. But how long, oh Lord, how long? And you just, like Neville would say, well, all he could do was shrug his shoulders, because it's when you get it and you're given it, but you don't get it because you're not seeking to find what's being said to you, and so you miss it. And then you want to blame God when actually it's self-denial. I can't stop it. See, and not that I want to, but I mean, I make no effort at all with this. All I do is just show up, and that's all you have to do. That's all anyone has to do, is just show up. And that's all I did, was I showed up. But I showed up with the right question, and I got the right answer. And you will too, if you'll do so, set in the silence. That's where the magic is, in the silence. But you have to be patient with yourself. That was my number one problem, was just being patient with myself. After a few minutes or so, I'd say, oh, nothing's happened, so I give up. But you have to be persistent. You have to be consistent. And you can be. But it does take a great effort at first. It does. But that's because you've been conditioned so long, whatever age you are, you've been conditioned up to that age about what's going on in the world. And what's going on in the world only goes on in the world because it went on in somebody's mind. Because everything on the without is secondhand. And here we go again.
It's true. It's true. I'm going to be sensitive of your time, but you're absolutely correct. And if, like I said, in our discussions, if the listeners can just take that away, that, you know, everything without is secondhand, and that they're given to choose firsthand, you know, and they'll have it licked if they can really just take that away.
Yeah. People don't realize how much they can imagine, because you're told what man can imagine, man can do. But that I mean, if you're seeing what you're thinking as a fantasy, well, then it stays a fantasy. But there is no such thing as a fantasy, because every word is taken into culmination to make up your world. So there is no fantasy. Even though you think it's fantasy, it isn't. Well,
yeah, we're close. But, you know, it's funny. You were talking about the fantasy as we're winding down. And everything that we see around us, and I'm seeing quite a bit of stuff around me, all started off as a fantasy, and somebody said along the way that it was impossible.
Right. And someone else said it is possible, and so we have it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So why aren't you the one saying we have it?
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of watching yourself, because you're talking yourself into and out of something all the time. But is it enjoyable?
Yeah.
That's what you want to keep asking yourself. Do I want to be doing this? If I don't, well, then it's just a matter of just changing what I'm thinking. And that's all there is to it. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So there it is. Just really take it for what it says right there. Your say is a valid say. Make it worthy of your attention. Right?
Absolutely. Well, sir, it's been a pleasure.
Sir, yes, it has been. Always is. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.